Welcome. Would you like to introduce your name, year, course, and university?
Hi, so I'm Dev. I'm a fourth year at Imperial and I study medicine.
Could you tell us your hometown?
So I'm just outside of London.
Could you tell us about your YouTube channel?
Hi, my name's Dev and I'm a fourth year medical student at Imperial College London. Welcome to my channel.
So I started a few months ago and I just make videos about medicine, student life, and Imperial, that kind of stuff.
Okay. Could you remind us of the course you're currently studying?
Medicine.
Why did you choose your course?
So for me, it was mostly about, I love science from a very young age and being able to apply that to a more practical context where I can sort of physically do stuff as well, and use my knowledge to problem solve, if you get what I mean. And while doing so, I'm able to help people out.
Okay. So you're now 4 years into your course. What have you thought of your course?
I'm quite enjoying my course. It's very different to what I thought, and it changes depending on what year you're in. So, for example, the first 2 years were very science focused lectures, and it's all sort of learning stuff. But then during the later years, it's more about applying it to the clinical field, which is very different. It's almost like another course. I'm enjoying it so far, though. It's very interesting.
Okay. Does your course have a placement year?
Yes, so essentially half of the course is placements because I study medicine. So for me, year 3, year 5, and year 6 are placement years.
Did you come from a sixth form or college background?
So I came from a sixth form.
What A levels did you study at sixth form?
I studied maths, chemistry, and biology.
Did any of these subjects help you with your course?
Definitely. So biology and chemistry are biology and chemistry are compulsory, at least on my uni, and I think most medicine courses definitely require chemistry, and biology is almost like you have to have it. The third subject is a bit like you can play around with. So for me, obviously, it was maths, but yeah, maths didn't really help, I'd say. Sorry.
Okay. What do you think the best A levels / subjects are for your course?
So biology and chemistry, obviously, you have to have that. The third one, I'd say just do whatever you enjoy. I think critical thinking in general studies is not allowed. But apart from that, whatever you enjoy that you think you can get a high score in, a high mark.
Could you remind us of the university you're currently studying at?
So I study at Imperial College London.
What are the best and worst things about studying at Imperial College? Starting off with the worst.
Oh, the worst. Okay. So I'd say it's quite pricey. Apart from sort of just stuff on campus, which is decent price. But as soon as you step out of the campus, you get into South Kensington, Knightsbridge. They're all very expensive places. And so that's one big thing you got to get used to, pricing. The campus is a little bit small, I'd say. Once again, this is probably because of its location, being in central London. It's a bit, it's not very big, I'd say, and that causes other issues like the library. So the library is really good library, but it's just sometimes, especially during exam season, it gets a bit packed, and it can be hard to find a spot. So I feel like that's due to the campus size and all that. The third thing I'd say is the medics and the non-medic segregation. So what I mean by that is our medical campus is located in Hammersmith, which is about half an hour sort of tube journey away. And all the other courses are on South Ken, apart from first year. So what happens is the medics and non-medics are kind of segregated and they don't really interact much after first year, which I think is a big problem.
And the best things?
Best thing, I did say the price was the issue, but the thing is, along with that comes the location. It's London, central London, loads of museums, parks, a lot of culture, history, lots to do and explore. So location is definitely one of the big things, especially as a medic. And then I would say the reputation and the research opportunities available at the uni. So it's quite, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's quite doable, where you can contact researchers or professors at your uni, and then conduct research during your summer term, and perhaps even during your course itself. So the research opportunities Imperial leads quite a lot in, and it's quite easy to take part in those kind of stuff.
Okay.
And then I would say finally, my third thing is clubs and societies. I think Imperial boasts about 400 almost, so there is something for everyone, from all sports to even the niche subjects like a specific culture or a country, society, things like that.
Okay. If we now go into your accommodation, where did you live in your first year?
So I stayed in Byte Hall, which is one of the 3 accommodation halls on the South Kensington campus, the main campus of Imperial.
And what was it like staying in Byte Hall?
Byte Hall was great. The best thing was being right next to the uni. It's literally across the road. That was great. It also had a bar downstairs, so when you wanted to socialize with your friends, you could just hop in, sit down. And there was also a common room, which every other day or every even day I was down there, meeting people, playing a bit of pool. So that was definitely great experience. And it was right next to the Royal Albert Hall, which hosts loads of premieres. So I had plenty of premieres right outside my window, and loads of high profile actors come along.
If we had a scale of party house to study house, where would the accommodation stand?
Oh, okay. I think this varies a lot on the kind of people that are in there in the year. I think they party a fair bit. Yeah, I would say the people that do party, like there's a lot of partying that goes around, I'd say. Yeah.
Okay. Where did you live in your second year?
Second year, I moved out to private accommodation. So I moved out to right outside the Medics campus, which was in Hammersmith, which is private accommodation.
So would that be a house or a private accommodation?
So it's a house, but it's not provided by the uni.
Okay. And what was it like going from the university accommodation to a house?
It's very different because you have to in university, everything is kind of there within the price. And then at private accommodation, you kind of have to sort your stuff out yourself. So Wi-Fi, gas, electricity. Not that it's hard, I sorted out fine, easy, but it's just something that I guess people would know. Like, you have to do things by yourself. It's not done for you. Finding a place and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. And your third year?
Third year, I've moved. But I moved across the road, so still outside the campus, which was nice, as one of my placements was at that hospital across the road. So I've always been close to uni, which is nice. But yeah, third year was there.
And now your final year?
I'm at home.
Oh,
because
so,
of,
Okay. So what advice would you give to students who want to move into a house?
Who want to move into a house? I would say try and... because it varies a lot on sort of where you are in the country. I think other places you have to start looking for a house very early. Sorry, is it very early? I think you have to start looking for a house quite early.
Okay.
But in London, the turnover is quite high, so you don't have to decide to move sort of in December. You can leave it until July, which is a few months before the start of the year, I think. You're obviously in first year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you'd be approaching that time where you have to look for housing. But yeah, I remember a lot of my friends having to look for housing quite early on. In London, it's a bit more chill. You can leave it later on. So don't stress about that, I would say. Another thing I would say is try and sort of meet people and see who you kind of gel with, because sometimes your friends aren't always... Your friends are great to be friends, but it's always different when you're living with them, when you are around them. So I guess see what they're like in halls, see if they're kind of, tidy, good to be around, live with. But it's a hit or miss, really. It varies.
Hey, if we now go into the London area, can you tell us about the London nightlife pre-COVID? What was the club for you?
I don't have anything in particular. The thing is, because London's such a huge area, events are all over the city, and we go to a lot of like different places, different events, and all that. There isn't something I have in particular. There's one that all the all the Imperial people go to, at least all the medics. They changed it. It's called the Redback now. So that's kind of where the majority of people go every Wednesday. But as you know, London is London. There's so many clubs everywhere.
Can you tell us about the shops in London? Is it more of your chain shops, or is it local shops when it comes to like, your shopping, your kind of getting your everyday essentials?
So in the South Kensington area, there was a lot of there weren't that many. Are we talking groceries, by the way?
Groceries.
Yeah. So in South Kensington, it's a relatively far away walk to get to things like Sainsbury's, Tesco. It's about 15-20 minutes. Whereas in the Hammersmith campus, it's your chains are right outside. You got your Tesco, you got your Waitrose, you got Sainsbury's. So the things are a lot closer there.
And if we talk about things like restaurants and like fast food shops, again, is it more local shops or more chain shops?
I would say it's a big mix. You've got loads of chains as well, and you've also got a lot of single shops as well.
Is there anything else you think a student would need to know about being a student in the London area? Being a student,
I would say try and explore, because I haven't, despite being there for pre-COVID, so let's say about 2.5 years, I still didn't explore as I would have liked to. So try and explore, make the most out of London, because it's a huge area, and do that if you can. What else could you do in London? Watch your budget, because it's quite easy to go over budget. So whilst you should try and attend a lot of events and all that, just make sure you're within your budget, because things do start to add up. If you're going out to clubs and stuff, don't buy drinks in the club. Way too expensive. Buy it from like Sainsbury's or something, and then do stuff at your, or Tesco, whatever, pre at your house. The thing is, bars get expensive too. So yeah.
Hey, yeah. What general advice would you give to students about the study at university?
Studying in general, or
in general, just any advice for students about to study at university?
So I would say try and do little bits throughout your course, rather than leaving it all until the end, because it sometimes during the early years it's possible just leaving it to the end depending on your course, but there comes a time where it's just too much. So if you start doing a little bit earlier on, it's not so much of a big burden and big stress right at the end. So that's one thing I definitely would advise you guys to do. Another thing about studying is watch the lectures. You don't always have to obviously check with the university if things are recorded, but if you don't always learn from going into lectures, if you prefer to watch things later on at ×2 speed we use Panopto, I'm not sure what other universities would use, but basically recording software that allows you to do that. Then if that works for you, then do that. Don't feel guilty for not attending the lectures, as long as you're learning in the end, and use whatever method is suitable for you.
What advice would you give to students about to study at your university?
At my university, so this is heavily depending upon your course. I think the workload is relatively high. So once again, my previous point about do little bits but often definitely applies. I think some courses actually force you to do work at all times, as I found in my year right now. So I'm doing management, which is a year out of medicine, and here you have to work constantly. So there's no way you can just not work. So that's obviously one thing there. Yeah.
And finally, what advice would you give to students about to study your course at university?
I would say it's a big jump from school. because the way you learn in school is a lot different to university. So I would say experiment with new techniques early, or and try not to just go based off looking at lectures and then writing stuff down. I would say look at the lectures beforehand, maybe annotate the slides throughout the lecture and then go over stuff, but explore all the different techniques and use stuff like active recall and spaced repetition. These are great ways of learning. And also for medicine especially, I think they're changing it now, but you need to be able to apply it to the clinical practice, which I think is a lot of what students sort of struggle with. They might know the science behind it, but applying it in the later years can be quite difficult. So if you start doing that from an early stage, it makes it easier when you get into wards to like sort of link stuff in together, if that makes any sense.
Okay. So you chose going to university over an apprenticeship / going right into work. What path do you to make this choice?
For me particularly, I think as I always wanted to do medicine, medicine isn't available as an apprenticeship. So that's the reason why I chose a university. But I hear a lot of things about apprenticeship. I had a few friends that went, and it's quite amazing how they're able to sort of pay for your course, you're able to work and learn at the same time. I think that's amazing. But for me particularly, it just wasn't an option because of my course.
Could you tell us more about your YouTube channel, what your name is, what kind of videos you do, where you started, etc.?
So my YouTube channel is called Devify, based upon my name, Dev, and then I kind of did a little bit of searching to see what sounded right. I make videos based on sort of medicine, so application process, how to get in, how to perform better, how to have more fun at uni, a little bit of tech, taking notes, iPads, all that kind of stuff to do with that. And I've had a lot of content on Imperial. So accommodation, what's best, where to apply, what the bad things about Imperial, what the good things, just a big Imperial playlist going on. And recently a little bit of vlogging as well about my life, which obviously is a bit difficult now because of COVID, but as soon as that's over and I go back into uni, I plan on producing a lot more of me in real life, doing my course.
Hey, so at this point, I let students have what I like to call a free-for-all. You can say what you want about what you like. You give advice, you can say something smart, you can say something dumb. Literally, the floor is yours.
Right, I put me on the spot here. I would say just make the most out of university. Your time at uni is short. Especially, I think a lot of people will realize that now due to COVID. A year and a bit is gone. About a year is gone, and for regular people, that's 1 year out of their 3-year course. So make the most out of your opportunities. Try and socialize as much as possible. Go out, enjoy, within your budget, obviously. But just try and have fun. Get that work-life balance. So like and subscribe, and I'm plugged in.
Amazing. Thank you.